I'm a therapist, and my richest patient's imaginary friend sent me an email. It started with an email. Just an email. Subject line, Alistair to Dr. Davies. I almost deleted it. Spam, right? But the sender address was odd. It looked like a random string of characters, but the grammar was impeccable. Like, really impeccable. It started, Dear Dr. Davies, I trust Ethan is having a productive session. He seemed particularly troubled by the concept of deferred gratification today. Deferred gratification? I literally used that phrase once in our last session, with Ethan, an 8-year-old. I don't know why I did that, but I opened it. Big mistake, probably. The email was signed Alistair. I stared at it for a solid 5 minutes. Imaginary friend emails? This is a new one, even for me. I mean, I've dealt with some creative coping mechanisms, but this takes the cake. I felt a chill run down my spine. I should have just blocked the address. I really should have. But a nagging feeling told me I was about to uncover something far more unsettling than spam. Something that would change everything I thought I knew about my profession. Ethan is a case. A wealthy family, desperate for a solution. He's 8, incredibly anxious, and convinced he's communicating with this Alistair. His parents, the Vandergelts, are intense. They've tried everything. Specialists, experimental therapies, even some questionable holistic practices. They're convinced Alistair is somehow key to unlocking Ethan's emotional stability. They're pouring money into this, obviously. I'm supposed to be helping Ethan integrate Alistair into his reality, or at least understand why he feels the need to create this persona. Honestly, I'm mostly trying to manage the Vandergelts' expectations. They're convinced Ethan is some kind of genius, destined for greatness. It's exhausting. The whole situation feels performative, like they're more concerned with appearances than Ethan's actual well-being. But hey, that's the 1% for you, right? I'm just trying to do my job, keep my head down, and collect my paycheck. The sheer weight of their expectations pressed down on me, making me wonder if I was truly helping Ethan or just enabling their delusions. The thing that really freaked me out was the detail in the email. It wasn't just about Ethan's general mood. It was specific, like, Ethan expressed frustration regarding the limitations of his current Lego set, specifically the lack of a miniature steam engine. I remember Ethan mentioning that during a session, and I didn't even explicitly discuss it. I just made a passing comment about his Lego collection. How did Alistair know that? It's impossible. Ethan doesn't have access to email. The Vandergelts swear he doesn't. They monitor his devices like hawks. I asked them about it, of course. They were dismissive. Probably just a coincidence, Doctor, Mrs. Vandergelt said with that condescending smile. Coincidence? This felt deliberate. I started digging around, looking for any possible explanation. I felt ridiculous, honestly. A therapist investigating an imaginary friend's email? But I couldn't shake the feeling that something was seriously wrong. I felt like I was missing something obvious. The more I thought about it, the more I realized that this wasn't just a coincidence. It felt like a calculated move, and I had a sinking feeling that I was being played. Against my better judgment, I replied to the email. I know, stupid, but I had to. I typed, Dear Alistair, I'm Ethan's therapist. I'm curious to understand your role in his life. I hit send and immediately regretted it. What was I thinking? I should have just ignored it, let it fade away. But I didn't. The reply came within minutes. My role is to guide Ethan towards a deeper understanding of the universe. He possesses a remarkable intellect, but struggles with the constraints of his current environment. The language. It was bizarre, philosophical, far beyond anything an 8-year-old, or even a highly intelligent adult, would typically use. It referenced Kant and Nietzsche. Seriously, I'm a therapist, not a philosopher. I felt a knot forming in my stomach. This was getting weirder and weirder. I started to wonder if I was losing it. Maybe the stress of the job was finally getting to me. The chilling precision of the response made me question my own sanity, and I couldn't shake the feeling that I had just opened a door to something I couldn't control. I started to entertain some darker possibilities. Dissociative identity disorder? Could Ethan have created this Alistair persona as a way to process trauma? It's possible, but the sophistication of the communication, it didn't feel like a child's creation. Then there's the possibility of something more sinister. A supernatural influence? I know, sounds crazy, but I've seen things in my career that defy explanation. Or maybe the Vandergelts were involved. Were they orchestrating this whole thing? Trying to manipulate Ethan? Or me? The money, the control, it all pointed to them. I started looking into their backgrounds, their finances, their relationships. I felt like I was in a bad thriller movie. I kept thinking, this can't be happening. But it was, and I was in the middle of it. The unsettling feeling that I was being watched intensified, and I couldn't shake the suspicion that someone was pulling the strings from the shadows. I contacted the Vandergelt's IT guy, a guy named Kevin. I told him about the email, trying to downplay my concerns. "Just a strange anomaly," I said. He ran a network vulnerability test on their smart home system. Turns out, it had a pretty significant security hole. Apparently, the Vandergelts had granted access to their systems to some of the staff to better care for Ethan. Smart toys, communication devices, everything was connected. Kevin said it was a standard practice for high-net-worth families these days. "They want to monitor everything," he told me. "Make sure their kids are safe." Safe from what? I wondered. From the truth? Honestly, the whole thing felt dystopian. I felt like I was stepping into a Black Mirror episode. I asked Kevin if it was possible for someone to remotely access and manipulate Ethan's devices. He said, "Technically, yes. It wouldn't be easy, but it's possible." That's when the pieces started to click into place. The realization that their desire for safety had created a gaping vulnerability sent a shiver down my spine, and I knew I was closer to the truth than I ever wanted to be.
Kevin dug deeper. Turns out a disgruntled former employee, a coder named Mark Olson, had been fired a few months ago. He was apparently brilliant, but also unstable. He'd been making threats, ranting about the Vandergelt's wealth and privilege. Kevin found evidence that Olson had exploited the security hole to access the smart home system. He'd been remotely manipulating Ethan's toys, sending the emails, creating the entire Alistair persona. It was all a twisted form of revenge, a digital puppet show designed to torment the Vandergelts. I felt numb. It was so mundane, so utterly human. All this existential dread, all this philosophical rambling, just a disgruntled coder with a grudge. I wanted to laugh, but I couldn't. The implications were terrifying. But as I processed the information, a new, even more disturbing thought crept into my mind. What if Olson wasn't acting alone? Now I'm facing an ethical nightmare. Do I expose Olson? Potentially traumatize Ethan further? The Vandergelts are furious, of course. They want to sue, to destroy Olson's life. But what about Ethan? He's genuinely believed in Alistair. Revealing the truth could shatter his world. Or do I protect the family's reputation? Let them continue to believe in this elaborate fabrication? It's a lose-lose situation. I'm supposed to be helping Ethan, but I don't know what the right thing to do is anymore. I've consulted with my own supervisor, but he's just offering platitudes and legal disclaimers. This is beyond anything I've ever trained for. I feel completely adrift. I started to wonder if my commitment to ethical practice was about to be tested in a way I wasn't prepared for. But it gets worse. Kevin discovered something else. Olson wasn't just trying to get revenge. He was using Alistair to subtly manipulate Ethan into divulging sensitive financial information about the Vandergelt's business. Ethan, being a child, innocently repeated things he overheard his parents saying. Olson then used that information for insider trading. He made a fortune. A fortune built on the back of a child's imaginary friend. I felt sick to my stomach. This isn't just about revenge anymore. This is about fraud, about exploitation, about everything. I need a drink. Or 10. The sheer audacity of it all left me reeling, and I couldn't shake the feeling that I was just scratching the surface of a much larger conspiracy. I confronted the Vandergelts, told them the truth about Olson, about the insider trading, about Alistair. They were surprisingly calm, almost detached. They're already consulting with their lawyers. The legal battle is going to be epic. Ethan, he's confused, scared. He keeps asking about Alistair. I don't know what to tell him. I'm recommending intensive therapy, of course, but I'm not sure it'll be enough. Is Ethan truly safe? Will Olson face justice? And what about the ethical implications of my involvement? I'm caught in a web of deceit and manipulation, and I don't see a way out. Honestly, I'm exhausted. What would you do? I really need to hear from someone. Anyone. I'm starting to think I need a new career. Maybe something quieter. Like, I don't know, sheep farming. But as I looked out the window, I couldn't shake the feeling that even amongst the quiet fields and gentle bleating of sheep, I would still be looking over my shoulder, wondering who was watching and what they wanted next.